Hey guys, it's Miss Katz, and today I'm going to be working on page 13A in your MSG. I want you to take a couple of opportunities to look at a few examples and then pause the video wherever I ask you to pause it so you can try the problems yourself and then check them. All right, so we are going to sort of jump right in. This first problem is asking us to write an expression of some sort that will allow us to solve this problem. And remember, we're working on subtraction of integers, so we want to write something in that vein. So it says a team gained 5 yards, so they went a positive 5 yards on their first play of the game, and then they lost 6 yards, so we're going to take away 6, and we want to find the total change in yardage. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are actually going to use the algorithm that we talked about yesterday, which is subtracting a positive is like adding a negative. And when we add two different signs, we subtract and we take the sign of the biggest, one with the biggest absolute value. So here when we subtract, we get 1. There's more negatives, 1 extra negative. So our answer is -1. Okay. Your checking account is overdrawn. That means that you actually owe money. So we're going to start with a -$50. And then you write a check for $20. So we're going to subtract $20 more from that account. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply the algorithm. So subtracting a positive is like adding, adding a negative. And when they're the same signs, we add them together and keep the sign. So we know our sign's going to be negative, and 50 plus 20 is 70. All right, I want you to do me a favor and hit pause for just a second and try out number 27, and then come back and check your answer. All right, hopefully you've already answered question number 27. So the average temperature in Calgary, Canada is 22 degrees in July and -11 in January. Find the range of the highest and lowest temperatures in Calgary. So when we find a range, we subtract. So 22 minus a -11. And then we're going to apply that algorithm. So subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. So the range here is going to be 33 degrees. All right, let's move on to the bottom part of our assignment today. And let's start with question number 28. I'm going to do 28 and 29, and then I'm going to pause so you can practice the rest of them yourself. So here they've given us the values for X, Y, and Z. And all our first step is to substitute. So in question number 1, we're looking for what is the value of X? Well, X is -8. -8 minus 7. And again, to subtract integers, we treat it like adding the opposite. So instead of subtracting a positive, I'm going to add a negative. When you add two of the same signs, you add them together and keep the sign. All right, let's take a look at question number 29. So in 29, our substitution is for Y. So this is going to be -13 minus Y, which is 7. When we subtract a positive, it's the same thing as adding a negative. I'm using those parentheses again just to make sure that you don't lose that little negative sign. It just helps keep it all together. They're the same sign, so we keep the sign and we add them together. All right, I want you to hit pause right here, and I want you to complete the rest of this page so you take a quick look, and I will come back in just a second and we will go over those answers. All right, hopefully you have paused your video and you've done questions 30 through 37, and you've just come back here for me to go over the answers. So let's take a look. -11 minus Z. So -11, first thing we're going to do is substitute. And since we've got two negatives back to back, you always want to put a parentheses just to make sure that we get them right. So we're going to keep the first one, and subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. They're different signs, so we subtract. It ends up giving us a 0. Okay. Question number 31. First we substitute. So -8 minus -11. Okay. Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. Two different signs. We subtract and keep the sign of the highest absolute value. So since 11 has the highest absolute value, my answer will be positive, and the difference between these is 3. All right, question number 32. We're going to substitute again. -11 minus 7. Subtracting a positive is like adding a negative. They're both negative, so we keep the negative sign. and we add them together, making 18. Okay. We go on to question number 33, and we're going to substitute. So 7, and we're going to take away a negative 8, or subtract a negative 8. Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive, and when I do that, I get 15. Okay. Question number 34. Again, we start with substitution. So x is negative 8. And we are subtracting this. Whenever you see a little negative sign in front of a variable, it says the opposite of whatever that variable is. So since z is negative 11, this says take the opposite of negative 11. So we're going to make that a positive 11. All right, and then negative 8, we're subtracting a positive, so now I'm going to add a negative. They're the same sign, and we add them together. I'm going to say that one more time. And whenever you see a negative sign in front of a variable like this, it means take the opposite of whatever z is. Since z is a negative 11, we're going to actually substitute in the opposite of that, which is positive 11. All right, here we've got some absolute value symbols, so don't forget you have to do that as well. So we're going to do 7 minus negative 11. Okay, I'm keeping those absolute value signs till I do something with them. We're going to treat them sort of like parentheses. You do what's inside before you do anything else. So this is subtracting a negative. I'm going to add a positive. So 7 plus 11 is 18, and the absolute value of 18 is 18. Okay, number 36. If x is negative 8 minus negative 11 minus 7. So we're going to change everything to addition. All right, so negative 8, we are subtracting a negative, that's like adding a positive. And we're subtracting a positive, that's like adding a negative. So negative 8 plus 11, there are more positives, 3 more to be in fact. So this is going to be 3 plus a negative 7. Different signs. So we're going to keep the sign of the highest absolute value and then subtract. And there's our final answer. Remember that subtraction, the order matters, but once we change it to addition, you could have really grouped these any way you wanted to. Alrighty? And then the last problem in this set is 3 plus, and remember I said this means the opposite of x. So if x was negative 8, we're going to add 8. And 3 plus 8 is 11. All right, hope that made some sense. And even though I didn't ask you guys to do page 13b, I do want to show you a couple things really quickly just on that number line. As long as we've got it, it might make some things jump out at you a little bit better than they have. So I'm just going to take a look at a few of these in case you want to stick around and take a look. So here, this is 3 minus 2. So 3, we're subtracting a positive. We're going to add a negative. Okay, and I'm not going to worry about the counters. If we did pluses to represent our positives and negatives to represent our negatives, what do we have more of? These guys go together, and I'm left with 1 positive. Okay, now when we go to look at that on a number line, we're going to go to positive 3. That's where we started, and we're going to go back 2, 1, 2, and look where we end up at positive 1. And that's sort of the idea behind all of this stuff. All right, guys, I'm hoping that you've got the basic mechanics down of subtraction. There is an IXL assignment that goes with this video today, so I hope you can get that done for me. And remember, there is a prize on the line. I'm going to draw one name for anybody who's completed all their work for the week, and they will get a $10 Amazon gift card. So I hope that you guys have a great day, and I miss y'all a lot.